guys, my name's Samuel Leeds and welcome back to another Winners on a Wednesday interview. I'm sat here with my very good friend Jamie Hicks. Jamie, great to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me on again.
Now, Jamie has become not a property millionaire, Jamie's become a millionaire through investing in property in the last 2 years. You came on Winners on a Wednesday exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
And at that point, where were you at about then? You're just financially free?
Financially independent, I would say.
Yes.
I'd replaced my income, but we were kind of working towards replacing my wife's income as well, so she can come on board with the business.
Since then, you've bought so many houses, you can't even count.
No, because I remember at one of your events, somebody asked you the question, and you were kind of like...
So ask me what question?
How many houses have you got?
Right.
How many houses have you got? And you kind of didn't answer with a specific number.
Yeah, and sometimes people hate, they're like, oh, you didn't answer, how can you not know? And it's like, well...
But now I understand, because you've got different stages of different projects. Some you sell to, to capital raise.
Yeah.
Some, just kind of sit within the portfolio. So yeah, I understand now. Like,
you might be developing some. You might have a bit like you've got like a big commercial unit where you've split the titles. Does that count as one? Does that count as six? You've just sold some. You've got a piece of land where you're trying to build. What does that? So, but however, you came up to me yesterday at the Brighton Property Millionaire Intensive, and what was the reason that you came down to the event?
So I wanted to come to the event just to say thank you, really. Just to say thank you for, putting me in the position I'm in. I'm now a millionaire. And I want to touch on the millionaire bit, where people think you're a millionaire, like all of my money is out working hard.
Yes.
So it's all tied up in property. So, as far as having hundreds of thousands in the bank, that's not the case with me. All of that is out working hard.
But what's the difference between a property millionaire and a millionaire?
Well, a property millionaire will own £1 million worth of property. And a millionaire, if you sold everything, there's the net amount left is 7 figures.
Right. So a property millionaire might have 10 houses worth 100 grand, but their net worth might only be 250 grand because they've got mortgages. Your net worth is now £1 million.
Just over.
Just over, respect by the way. And you came down to the Property Millionaire yesterday, Property Millionaire Intensive, just to say thank you, I'm a millionaire.
Thank you very much for the, for the training, the guidance, the mentorship. I've reached out a few times to you, and you've really helped. The academy, the support from the members, the support from the trainers, it's been fantastic. Like I haven't really been hanging on anyone's coattails or bugging people. Do what it says on the tin, do what the training asks you to do, or guides you to do, and then when you get stumped, kind of ask for support. And that's what I've done. You said tell everyone what you do, so I did. I got the car sign written, attended local events, spread the word as much as I could. Being open, really. We're looking for we're looking to buy. We're also looking for investors. But yeah, right across the board, it was kind of tell everyone what you do. The first deal actually come from I left. We spoke about it on the last Winners. I left a course, went and spoke to a local successful investor, and that kind of created come up with my first deal.
Who we had dinner with tonight as well. Nice bit of networking.
Yeah, we had dinner tonight.
You know what's interesting as well about your story? So we met yesterday and you told me I've got this house, this house, this house, I've done this deal, I've pulled all my money out. So I said to you, can we go around them? And you literally printed off a list of every property that you own and every property that you've been involved with, all the joint ventures, and it was a big list. I was looking like, oh my goodness. I said, well, how long is it going to take to get round? And you were like, well, it might take a day or two. So I said, well, let's go around as many as we can. Yeah. We've been together for the last 6 hours. We've had the dinner, but we've been viewing properties back to back to back to back. You've literally been saying, this is what I did with this one. We couldn't go inside because they're all tenanted, but how you've grown such a large property portfolio in 2 years is absolutely impressive. You must have worked your ass off the last couple of years.
I have, but I've also added to the team as well with people who I trust.
Yeah.
So we've got a full-time sourcer and a property manager, Chris, on board. We've got a small build team down in Llanelli that we constantly keep busy. I've got Sadie who looks after the social media side of it, the traffic. So at first, when I started out, it's all you. You're doing everything. You do, even to the point where I was painting walls. But now you realise you can't. And to scale, like you said, from the off, you need to systemize as much as you can.
Yes.
And pull in support where you do. So everyone's got their own specific roles. We've all got our own roles within the business, which that has really helped us scale and take on more projects. I think from a sourcing point of view, we've got 6 live projects on, which is not a fantastic amount, but they're sourced, and we're doing the project management for the refurbs as well. So I couldn't do that on my own. Like we've been touring today across this side of the portfolio. I know Chris has been down in Lanethley doing viewings, keeping the pipeline full as such, and negotiating freeholds and all sorts. So yeah, to systemize and to recognize when you're kind of maxed out on what you can do.
Sure.
So if you do it all yourself, then I believe that'll stifle your growth.
Yeah.
It is an investment from the business to pay wages, but it's definitely helped.
Now, when we last spoke a year ago, you had left your high-paying job. In fact, you left your job just after joining the academy, I believe.
Yeah.
What happened there? How did you come to the realisation and the decision of, because your job was, you weren't working at McDonald's, you weren't a factory worker, you had quite a serious position.
Yeah.
What were you doing and why did you decide to leave?
So I was on a kind of a leadership stroke management career path that was kind of laid out in front of me. And like I spoke about before, it wasn't, I enjoyed it, but there was a cap on what I could do and what I could achieve personally. So I made the decision that I was going to go into property, but in order for that to happen, I had to kind of go all out and go for it right from the off. Now, it did cause some problems when I'm trying to refinance because I didn't have any businesses, I didn't have any rentals at all. So when I kind of made myself unemployed on paper, that's when I needed a good broker as such. So
right, I was going to ask, how did you get around that problem? Because trying to get a mortgage on all of these property investments with no income.
So I did have savings. I had a small amount of savings, and I kind of linked with the right people. I linked with, I built a power team. So good solicitor, good broker, good accountant. All of these things, good mentors. All of these kind of pieces of the jigsaw were put in place. Because I kind of say I know a little about a lot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I kind of know a little bit about tax, a little bit of this, a little bit. But then I just went to the experts. I just went to the guys who could help me, get the end result that I needed just to move forward. So,
a lot of people on Winners on a Wednesday, a lot of people on the academy, when they come on the academy, they've got nothing. Their net worth is zero. They've got no savings. You weren't in that situation. You didn't have lots of cash in the bank. But when we first spoke and when you joined the academy, you did have a house that you owned.
Yeah.
What was your financial situation when you first went into property and joined the academy? And what happened and how did you reshape your thinking toward and philosophies around investing?
So the first kind of event that kick-started it was an uplift in my house due to the bridge toll going. My house went up in value. I decided to use that opportunity with some savings to raise some capital. I set aside a budget for training, and then I knew I kind of had a pot of money then for purchasing. Yeah. So that's what happened. I refinanced, pulled some money out. I spent some money on training. I spent some money, elsewhere as well, with a few of the mentors, few of the events that I attended. But kind of when I come to the academy, I come to the crash course. I'd already decided. I'd already seen your content online on YouTube, and kind of knew that you offered an end-to-end, lots of different strategies, and also what appealed to me as well was the kind of the business support that was offered at the end as well, and the social media kind of marketing side of it. That was dropped in at the back end of it, which again really supported the growth of the business afterwards.
So you were literally in a situation whereby you had a decent job, you had a nice little house, you were paying down the mortgage, had a little bit of savings, very normal.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 39.
So you were about 37.
Yeah.
Beautiful wife, couple of kids, kind of the normal life, right? But presumably you realised if you carry on doing what you're doing, if you carry on working a job, paying down the mortgage, number one, you're going to work until you're in your 60s. Number two is you're not going to be able to leave generational wealth for your kids.
That was it. So, in the position I was in, we went through a lot of changes within the business, which meant, unfortunately, some people were, made redundant. And I kind of thought, well, maybe one day that's me.
Right.
And that could be me. So I wanted to come up with generational wealth within property, so I could kind of leave a legacy for my kids, but also, don't have the worry as if something happens to me, whether, I become incapacitated for whatever reason, or I can't work, then as the main breadwinner for the house, that's us. We're done. We then can live the life we want to live. But seeing a different light, seeing a different way to earn a steady income. But like now with the team I've got in place, if I step away or something happens, then that still ticks along.
Yeah.
And there is a long-term plan to bring the kids into the business, with trusts and things like that, and bringing them in as B shareholders. So yeah.
Nice. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of that stuff. Do you think that having a job is perhaps a little bit riskier than people think? Because when most people think of having a job, they think of security. What do you think about that?
At first, having a job was the main thing that obviously we're taught right away from the beginning. So get a job. I think if you've got one source of income and it's your job, then you're far more at risk than you think, because ultimately if you work for a big corporation, then they're going to have a restructure for whatever reason, or if you again you become ill for whatever reason and you can't work, then you're kind of in a risky position, in my opinion now. So yeah, that's kind of all these things are going through your head, and then it was a massive risk. It felt so for 3 months waking up. It's a different motivation, because usually when your pay packet's going to come, but then that's kind of how the system wants it to be. They want you to have that regular pay packet, just enough to live, versus then being a business owner where there's really no limit on what you can earn. So
that's a good question. Are you in a better position now financially than you were 2 years ago?
Yes.
Massively, or a little bit?
Monthly, not tremendously different, because we've had to replace 2 wages.
Yeah.
And there is a slight.
So your lifestyle's similar.
Lifestyle.
Because this is what we just say. This is a really interesting point. You're now a millionaire. Some people might think you're a millionaire. You have really fancy cars. You got loads of money in the bank. You've paid off all your debts. Actually, you've got more debt now than you had 2 years ago.
Yes.
You've probably got less money in the bank now than you did 2 years ago, I hope.
Yes, because it's all about working.
Right. So there's a real interesting shift here with people's philosophy, because when people are trying to get rich, most people would probably consider you rich. You're a millionaire. Not super rich, but you've done well. But most people think to get rich, you want to pay off your debts, you want to put money in the bank, you want nice fast cars. You've not got any of those things.
No.
So what's the goal then? You've achieved a lot, and you've got a lot more to go, but you're a millionaire. So what's the lesson in that?
I suppose the lesson is you kind of can live a different life with a different mindset. So if your mindset is slightly different, to thinking, I don't mind I've got this debt in the background, but the assets outweigh the debt, and you're also your income. Like, one of the things you said obviously was find out your figure, your bottom figure that you need to earn per month to come out, and we did. And we were frugal with that. We brought it right down. We achieved that, and now it was kind of like, okay, what about financially free? What does that number look like? So we can kind of live. So it's been massive sacrifice for like 2 and a bit years, really. Yeah. But it's just the lifestyle. How did
you come to the decision about your wife leaving work?
It was because I couldn't do it all myself.
Right.
I couldn't yes, there's a certain amount of systemizing, but you kind of need to be in a few different places at the same time.
It's sometimes, for myself, been in a situation where my wife's left work as well. Sometimes you're hiring staff and you're thinking, man, my wife's working in a job, maybe making 2, 3, 4 grand a month, whatever. Yeah. I'm hiring staff. It just makes sense to bring my wife in on the business.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm sure she'll back me up and say it, that she's learning as well as I'm learning, but also the team that we've brought on, we're all learning at the same time. We're all kind of growing together. Yeah. So I haven't got all the answers, and nor of the guys between them, but I definitely know I could pick up a phone and find out the answers, regardless of what we're talking about, whether it's splitting titles, whether it's raising finance, marketing. That's we're all kind of on a journey together. So that's the great thing about it, is we sit down. We've got a routine. We sit down in the morning. What's the plan for the day, etc.
Yeah.
And we've split the roles, and that's the main thing. You don't kind of cross over into there. As long as the roles are clear and concise between each one of you, and then you kind of review it on a weekly basis. Roles
and responsibilities being super clear, rather than being muddled around who's supposed to be doing what. How many members of staff do you have now?
There's three. Me and my wife. So there's kind of five of us working towards the same thing.
When you came on Winners on a Wednesday a year ago, you'd quit your job, your wife was still working, and you didn't have any employees.
No.
So now you've scaled and you've systemized things. Your portfolio's exploded. You've bought a whole bunch more houses. What's been what would you say is the lesson about scaling a portfolio?
Realizing when you need help.
Yeah.
Realizing when you're kind of maxed out. Clear roles and responsibilities, and I'll say it as it is, identifying the bullshitters.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is people that kind of come into your circle that are toxic, and people that kind of, they bullshit you from the off. An example being, from the sourcing side of it, I'll take a call from somebody, we'll have a chat, they've got X amount of money, we deliver a deal that satisfies the original needs, and they're reversing back out of it.
Right.
Because at the start, they didn't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So
I remember having this conversation with you about a year and a half ago, where I was saying to you, take money up front. Yeah. Do you remember this? Do you remember this conversation we had?
Yeah.
I was saying when you got an investor that wants to buy a deal.
And again, that's sometimes. What did the one chap say to me? He said, "I have to live with you 10 years before I give you £2,000." But a scenario there was, he drove all the way up from south to view one property in Wales and then drove home. And I kind of said to him, well, what you're paying for is the service of we're on the ground and we're viewing 10 times more than that.
Yeah.
Weekly. So that's kind of, for me, it was the clear roles, responsibilities, recognizing when you're maxed out and what you can do, bringing people on board that you trust,
yes,
and who have got your back, and also making sure that everyone's happy. Everyone's on the same wavelength. That's kind of what's really helped the business grow. Because if I was still doing it on my own, then half of this wouldn't be possible.
Are you still grinding really, really hard, or are you now?
No. As in, it kind of becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
Like there is no alarm clock on to get up, and then that's what time I clock off.
Right.
It's kind of just now, so you do what you want as such, but there's also, I've got my roles and responsibilities.
It's kind of like, I feel like as a business owner, it's more lifestyle. So rather than it being I work 9 to 5, you might be able to have a day off whenever you feel like it, lie in, go out. Like I just said to you yesterday, can I come out tomorrow? You went like, oh, I've got a bit of stuff on. Yeah, man, sure, come on out. Yeah. So there's freedom, but also you've still got this underlying just living and breathing work and business. Yeah. You've got to love it. If you don't love it, you're not going to do well.
100%. I mean, the one thing that I've been taught from an early age is you've got to graft, and I'm passing that on to the children. So if you don't want to graft and you just want to kick back on the beach from day one, then I don't think you're going to be successful. So I'm always going to work. I can't see me ever doing 0 hours work a week.
Yeah.
But it'll be more of a handing over of the ship to the boys, rather than just going, right, bang, I'm done.
Can anybody become a millionaire? Or does it take a very rare breed of person?
I think anyone can become a millionaire.
Why do you say that?
Because there's opportunities out there. There's vast opportunities out there, not just in property. You'll see all the different ways you can earn money. I just think you need commitment and dedication to your one cause that you choose.
Yeah. So you just choose what you want to do, stick to it.
But that vehicle you choose to make money in, there needs to be the ability to become a millionaire.
What do you think about this? Because I've been hung up on Instagram recently by saying a few things. I'd be interested in your take on it. One of the things I said on Instagram is I think side hustles are for losers. Side hustle, meaning people that have a side hustle. If you don't treat something as a business and focus on it, you're never going to get results. If you see it as a side hustle, you'll get side hustle results.
Yeah, I think just on if it's a side, I think hobbies over time could become your main business if that's your passion. But I think you get I get a lot of Bitcoins over there.
Yeah.
Stocks and shares are over there. Stay focused, really.
And there's nothing wrong with doing different things, but I personally think you need to choose what's your main source of income going to be. And until you've got that succeeding, if you're trying a bit of this and then when it gets tough, trying a bit of this, and then when it gets tough, trying a bit of this, looking for that shiny penny, looking for that magic bullet, there isn't one. Yeah. The only magic bullet is you.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, this is this has not been an easy path because for 18, 20 years, I knew when the money was going to hit the bank on a monthly basis. So that is kind of, if that's your choice and you're happy with that, but it comes with risks. Yeah, and it's been a feast and famine kind of roller coaster really, as you're setting up until your monthly income gets to a point where you're like, right, I'm okay. Yeah. But even then, the refinances, if there's a delay with refinances and you've got things lined up, right, then obviously there's a bit of a snowball and you've got to fill that gap. Yeah. So
I think it's really important as well. We teach on the academy, we teach fast pound, slow pound, active income, passive income. You've built a big empire of slow pound longevity wealth. Yeah. A lot of what we teach on the academy is fast pound, rent to rent, deal sourcing, quick money, quick money, quick money. Put that quick money into slow money. You focus more on the slow pound. It's taken you a couple of years, but you've done super well. What do you think about some of the other strategies that you've not done so much, like rent to rent? I know you've not really done that at all. Deal sourcing, you do a little bit, but on a very small scale. What do you think about some of these fast pound scales, and why did you choose to go more down the slow route of building an empire as opposed to making some quick money?
I think because from the offset, I kind of knew that I wanted to pass it on in the future, but I also did have a little bit of cash. Yeah. Not a tremendous amount, and I knew I kind of had a one-time pot that I seen it at that moment in time, an opportunity. Life was in the right place. I had that pot to use, and that was the strategy I went for. Rent to rent, if you haven't got that pot and you haven't got access to capital in the beginning, then yes, I see rent to rent as a great source of replacing your income. Yeah. But I kind of wasn't in that position at the start. I knew I had enough to start BRR. Sure.
So if you just started out with nothing, you would have then probably implemented rent to rents and maybe even deal sourcing a bit more.
I would have gone after the deal.
So there's no excuses. If you've got no money, you can just do some of the fast pound stuff to begin with.
And as long as you invest that then, or a portion of it into the BRR, then I don't think you can go wrong.
So you refinance your house, you get a pot of money. Yeah. In just summary terms, how do you turn a small pot of money into a massive multi-million pound portfolio? How do you take a small pot of money and recycle it over and over and over again?
So we kind of look for problems really, and we fix the problems within the properties or the deal, and then added value. Right. So we kind of look for the really bad, the worst house we possibly can find in any street. It kind of doesn't matter if the deal stacks. We then come in and add value. Yeah. And then when we refinance, the uplift in value kind of you get your money back, however you put in. And in some instances, we've actually made money, not just broke even. We've made money, but then there's other deals where we've left a little bit in.
So what you're talking about is to fix the property up and flip it. Normally you buy it, you push the value up, you refurb it, then you sell it, you make a profit. Yeah. You're choosing to use that profit as the deposit in the property. So you're buying the house, you're fixing it up, you're refinancing it, and the money that you're putting out is tax-free. Yeah. You're paying back you're paying yourself back or your bridging company back. You're left with a house that's effectively a no money down deal. In some cases, you leave a little bit in. Some cases, you get a free house and you have a bit of money in your pocket. So that's your strategy. To do that, you need to find problem properties. Now, what kind of problems have you been solving the last year then?
So we've been looking for things like absent freeholders.
What does that mean?
So where the owner of the land is missing, and it kind of potentially would stop a refinance. We've been finding them guys and girls.
How'd you hunt them down?
We've hired a private detective. We've
with the sunglasses and the newspapers looking around.
So a private detective was when we used Facebook, social media, contacted the name, because off land registry you've got basic details of that individual.
So you got the name, you just search like crazy around the area.
And then you kind of follow the trail, then knock on the doors, the neighbours, they give you some information.
So talk me through this. So say you've got an absent freeholder. In that situation, what generically happens to that property?
Well, if we don't find it, then the freeholder might pass away, and it then drops down to the next in line, son, daughter, whoever that person is, and then we would go to them. But in this case, we found the lady in the one instance, and we kind of offered to buy it. We offered to buy the free.
Well, so you drive in down Newport where you live, you see a house that looks like a wreck, no one knows who the owner is, it's just been abandoned, and then you get a private detective, you hunt down who owns it, and then you say, hey, you approach them and you say, this property is absent, clearly you have no interest in it, and you strike a deal.
Yeah, because in some scenarios, they're on a 999-year lease with a £1 peppercorn payment, so 40 years is 40 quid. So we'll offer substantially more than that to buy the freehold, which then could potentially make that deal maybe a block of flats or whatever, or a mixed use property stack, and then you've got an exit.
So this business really is about solving problems.
100%.
About finding properties that have got problems, and then you solve the problem. And you've got some incredible stories of some of the problems that you've solved. Talk me through some problems that you've solved.
So there was, I took a call from a friend of mine on social media. There was a dispute with the neighbours, and kind of wanted a quick sale. So we kind of stepped in and said, look, this is the deal on the table. I think we spent about possibly 2 hours on the deal. We were able to come to a conclusion for the purchase price. They moved on quickly out of the way of the problem, and we've kind of...
So this person then wants to sell their house, but doesn't want to have the hassle of an estate agent.
Yeah, that's correct.
Wants to get rid of it quickly.
Yeah.
Then maybe spot your car.
Yeah, the car.
Your packaged car, which by the way is hilarious. Packaged to hold. You bought the car for the sole purpose of packaging it up in a we buy houses quick for cash.
Yeah.
So basically then, to be a millionaire, you need to become somebody that can solve problems. Find people with problems, find properties with problems, have the skill to solve the problem, buy the property, use bridging finance, use other people's money, buy it, fix the property, fix the problem, solve the problem, then refinance, pull your money out and find another problem. So you're a full-time problem solver.
Yes, I'd say so. And as you kind of, you add to your power team as such, you then start solving more complex problems. And then adding value just by doing paperwork. So an example, the one block we visited today, bought that in one block and we chopped it up into individual titles, which added value. And then it's also about navigating. One thing we found with the refinances, for example, on the last year when Brexit and the elections were on, I was advised to have the value done after the election results. So we were due to have a valuation just before the results were going to be announced. And one of my mentors kind of said, look, let's delay it and have the valuation done afterwards, because there's a bit of uncertainty within the market. So I kind of said, yeah, okay, I'll go with that. And then the election result landed, we had the valuation, and we achieved what we wanted to achieve.
It's about knowing timing, areas, navigating through things. Yeah. And I think it's really important. You talk a lot about, I know you're a massive advocate for education. You spent a portion of your money when you refinanced the house on education. You joined the academy. We've got a panel of mentors, training sessions and everything. Why do you think education and power team and mentors, why is that such an important part of becoming a millionaire in business?
Because I haven't got all the answers. There's only so much. I was learning right from the scratch. I'd never owned a business before. I was always an employee. So I knew I needed to draw on experience and support from other people.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to know a bit myself.
Yeah.
I also wanted to learn, to make sure that things were going in the right direction and I wasn't going into it completely blind. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert in any of the fields that we kind of talk about, but like I said, I do know a little bit about each one. And I kind of see myself as the person that just puts the bits together in the right order.
So the properties you're buying, commercial, residential, mixed use, flats, got a nice team, now a millionaire. What was it that made you agree to come and do this interview? I mean, you're now a millionaire. Why come back and give up half hour of your life to do this?
Credit where credit's due. I wanted to say thank you. I wanted, if anyone picks up any kind of nuggets from it, brilliant. I hope, and I help someone else on their journey, fantastic. But for me, it was credit where credit's due, and just kind of giving a bit back, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you giving your time up, and I think that it's really easy sometimes. A lot of people, they become successful and then they just forget where it started, forget where they came from. So I appreciate you coming on the channel, and also credit where credit's due to you. You've worked super hard, great guy. I know we've done business together and you've introduced me to some great people. I've introduced you to some great people. We've become friends. So, massive respect. I'm really excited about seeing what happens next. And no doubt in another year or two, we'll do a part 3 when Jamie B. Higgs becomes a multi-millionaire.
I hope so.
Well done, brother. Thank you
very much. Thank you.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Jamie, one of the most amazing people you'll ever meet, deserves everything that he's got, and I hope you found it useful, him coming back on the channel to talk about exactly A to Z how he's done it, not just all the good stuff, but some of the hardships as well. Becoming a millionaire is not easy, but as Jamie said, with the right commitment, determination and training, anybody can do it. If you'd like to come down to the Property Millionaire Intensive, you know what, tickets on the house, I'll leave a link in the description. Don't forget to drop a comment or a question in the comments. I'm sure Jamie will be reading the comments and answering. I'll leave details for Jamie's website as well if you want to connect with Jamie. Do it. He's in Newport, South Wales. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you next time.